The first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a backup of the report file itself. And as we're all probably familiar with, the RAVE files contain all of the reports that are actually inside of our report list in VK. So here you see I'm in VK. Here you see I've got my list of reports inside of VK, and all of those reports are saved inside of one single RAVE file. So I'm going to go out, and the first thing I'm going to do is make a backup of it. So I found the install drive. The install folder is VK5, and it's inside VK_share. So I'll go into there, scroll down, I'll find VK5 extras, go into it, go into Rave reps, go into IBO, and I'm going to find the reliefdu.rave because I'm in relief devices. So the reliefdu.rave is the file I want to make a copy of. I will right click it, say copy, right click it, say paste, and I now have a backup copy made of my report file. So if anything goes wrong when I'm making my report, I can go ahead and I can just jump back to my report file, and I can have that take over where my mistake was. Okay, so now I'm inside of my report list inside of VK. I know where I want to start, and I want to start with this PRV test and set report, and I'm going to take that and I'm going to make a copy of it and do some editing, adding those photos as we saw on the PDF. So as we know inside of VK, before we ever do any editing of reports, we have to preview it in order to sync it. So I'll go ahead and I'll preview the report, and there's the report. And again, like we talked about, we want to move the comments up to where the description area is, and we want to insert the two images where the comment is. And the second page is actually for parts, and my suspicion is that generally speaking, in an inspection and test and set only event on a valve, generally you wouldn't have any parts. So I suspect that that page 2 is a throwaway, but it's there just in case. No big deal. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit the edit button, and I'll go ahead and I will go into the report editor. And so now I'm inside the report editor. On the right hand side, I'll open up my report library. First I'll resize that a little bit, open up my report library, and you see that's the report that I hit edit on, so it started me on the report, and this is essentially the 2 pages that I want to make a copy of. I know it's a 2-page report, so I know it's a data cycle based report, not a data band based report. So I have to use the standard multiple page or data cycle report creation. Unfortunately, there is no right click and copy report so that you can paste the report. So we do have to build a report from scratch, if you will. So I'll come to Rave's file menu, I'll say add new report. New report is added. As we all remember, it's very important that we have the report name be something that VK recognizes, because VK does a lot of plugging in. And so the one that I'm going to make a copy of is this valve 2P test set report. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call this, its name property is going to be valve data 2P tests set, and I'll put an _IM knowing that it's images. And so for its full name, which is the name that's going to appear in the list box inside of VK, for its full name, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call it a test set with pics. So I know what that is. I'll come down to page 1. Page 1, I'm going to do what I always do out of habit. I'm going to change its grid spacing to 05 so that I can see it properly. And I'm also now going to add a new page to this report. So I'll say add new page. So I now have a page 2. I'm going to do the same thing on the grid spacing, 0.05, and now I've got my 2 pages. So I'm going to go ahead and connect them. So page 1 is going to have to know to go to page 2. So how do I do that? Click on page 1. I'll come over here. I will say the go-to mode. Drop that down. I'll say I want to call it each time a page is being generated. Each time page 1 is being generated, I want it to then go to page 2. So this is how you connect between the 2 pages. So the framework is now set up for my 2-page report, for my copy of the report that I want. So I'm going to come back to my 2-page test and set report. I'm going to zoom way out so I can see the whole report. And because this is a data cycle report, I know that there's a data cycle component which has to appear first in the report list. So this is a creation order of the components on the report. Data cycle has to appear before anything that's coming out of the database, which makes sense. You want the database to click over to the next record, click over to the next record, click over to the next record before anything is being printed. So I'm going to select that because it's a non-visual component. It will not be visible on the report. I have to select it in the page. I'm going to hold down the Shift key. I'm going to draw a rubber band box around everything I want. I'm going to say Edit, Copy. I'm going to now come down to the report that I'm building, go to the page that I want. I will say Edit, Paste, and I've got all of my report elements. If I open up that page, you notice my data cycle is on the top, which is exactly where I need it. I'm going to come back to the report that I'm making a copy of. I'm going to go to page 2. Page 2 doesn't have any data cycle on it. It's only on the first page in the report, so it's a little bit easier. Hold down the Shift key, select everything. I will say select everything. I'm going to say Edit, Copy, and then I will come to the report that I'm building. Page 2, I will say Edit, Paste. And so now I've got all of the elements from the report that I wanted a copy of, right? So I made a copy of this test and set report, and I made a copy of it down here. So right now I've completed the task, which is essentially make a copy of the report. But that's not what we wanted, right? I wanted to come to page 1, and on page 1 I wanted to do a little bit of editing. I wanted to shrink the description area, and I wanted to move the comments up to the description, and I wanted to drop 2 photos in this general area. So I'll go ahead and I'll do that now. I'll shrink the description a little bit. Notice the truncate and the expand parent are true and false, so this is going to end up forcing the description to fit into that general area. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to resize the comment memo, and I'm going to come and put it up in basically the same area. And what I want to do is I want to take this comments here, and I'm going to bring this up, and I'm going to drop it in there as well. I'll get rid of that, so I'll click it and delete it. And now I want to insert a line there, so I'm going to come to my lines, actually to my drawing. I'm going to come to my drawing, I'm going to drop a horizontal line, and now it's just a game of spacing everything properly. So let's see here, I'm going to have this sized a little bit like this. I'll drag it over here a little bit. That pink bar is the extent of, the presumption is that's the extent of the page being printed, although that does depend a lot on what is going to be happening with the exact printer that I'm on. I just zoomed in a little bit to make this a little bit more visible for myself. I do have bad eyes, so I'll move it around a little bit. Now you notice that this is not exactly lining up, and I can't actually drag it to perfectly line up. So I'm going to use an alignment command. So I've selected the one that I want it to align to. I'm going to come to my alignment tab, and I've selected the one I want it aligned to. I've selected the one I want to have aligned, and I'm going to align the left edges. And now you see that it nicely snapped and it properly lines up. So now I'll take this, stretch it over to the full length of the report. So I've got my comments, so I've got my description memo. I'll drop that down a little bit and give us a little bit more description. So there we go. So I've got the comment stuff moved around the way that I wanted, and now down in this area I want to have the 2 photos. And so what I'm going to do in order to make the photo a little bit easier, make it a little bit quicker, I'm going to find another report that already has images on it, and I'm going to go to that report. So here you see we have a valve data, a new valve data with images. I'm going to double click on it, and you see here I've got the 2 images, but you also probably remember that the images have a specific trigger on them. So just like DB Traveler, there is a specific trigger, and I'm going to come out and I'm going to find that trigger. And if memory serves, it's called DB